Ryan Mitchell was a 34-year-old medical supply truck driver who spent most of his life traveling America's highways. He loved long, lonely drives and often told his co-workers, "The road never lies. If something's wrong, it lets you know before anyone else does." On a cold Tuesday night, Ryan was assigned a routine delivery to a small town called Black Hollow. According to his GPS, the trip would take less than 40 minutes. But after a major accident shut down the interstate, the navigation system redirected him onto an old forest road that wasn't marked on most maps. The road was completely deserted. No streetlights, no houses, no passing cars, only thick pine trees stretching into darkness and the steady glow of his truck's headlights. About 15 minutes into the drive, the radio suddenly filled with loud static before going completely silent. Ryan changed stations several times, but every frequency produced nothing except crackling interference. Then, a faint voice whispered through the speakers. "Turn back." Ryan frowned and lowered the volume. "It has to be interference," he muttered. A few seconds later, the voice returned. "Don't go to Black Hollow." Without another thought, he switched the radio off. The truck rolled deeper into the forest. 10 minutes later, he noticed an old gas station sitting beside the road. It looked abandoned. Only one flickering light remained above the entrance. Standing beneath it was an elderly man wearing a faded brown jacket. Ryan pulled over and rolled down his window. "Excuse me," he asked. "How much farther is Black Hollow?" The old man looked directly into his eyes. His expression never changed. Finally, he answered in a calm, almost emotionless voice. "You can't go there." Ryan gave a confused smile. "My GPS says it's just ahead." The old man slowly shook his head. "Your GPS doesn't know Black Hollow disappeared 27 years ago." Before Ryan could respond, thud! A heavy crash slammed into the back of the truck. Ryan jumped out immediately and rushed behind the vehicle. Nothing. No animal, no fallen branch, no damaged cargo. The road was completely empty when he turned back toward the gas station. The old man was gone. The light above the building had gone dark. The station stood silent, as if no one had ever been there. A chill ran down Ryan's spine. Without wasting another second, he climbed back into the truck and drove away. If you're enjoying this realistic horror story so far, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. You never know which true-looking nightmare will uncover next. About 10 minutes later, a weathered wooden sign appeared beside the road. "Welcome to Black Hollow." The sign was burned around the edges. Someone had painted a warning across it in dark red letters. "Leave before they see you." Ryan slowed the truck. As he entered the town, something felt terribly wrong. Every house was dark. Cars sat abandoned along the streets. Front doors were hanging open. But there wasn't a single person anywhere. No lights, no voices, no movement. Then, without warning, the truck's engine died. The dashboard lights flickered wildly. Every warning light illuminated at once. Ryan gripped the steering wheel. Slowly, he looked through the windshield. Standing in the middle of the empty road was a little girl. She wore a white dress. She was barefoot. Her long black hair completely covered her face, and she wasn't moving at all. Ryan's heart pounded as he stared at the little girl standing in the middle of the road. She didn't move. She didn't wave. She simply stood there, her long dark hair covering her face. Ryan pressed the truck's horn. The loud blast echoed through the empty streets. Nothing. She never reacted. He reached for his flashlight and slowly stepped out of the truck. "Hey," he called. "Are you okay?" No answer. The cold night air felt unnaturally still. As Ryan took another step forward, the girl quietly turned around and began walking away without making a sound. Her bare feet touched the cracked pavement, yet Ryan couldn't hear a single footstep. Against his better judgment, he followed her. She led him down an empty street lined with abandoned houses. Every porch light was broken. Every window was covered in dust. One house had a child's bicycle lying in the front yard, rusted as if it had been there for years. Then the little girl disappeared. She simply turned a corner and was gone. Ryan hurried after her. The street beyond was completely empty. No girl, no footprints, nothing. A sudden gust of wind slammed a nearby screen door against its frame. Bang. Ryan nearly dropped his flashlight. He turned toward the sound and noticed a light glowing inside the old house. It was the only light he had seen in the entire town. The front door slowly creaked open. Inside stood an elderly woman wrapped in a gray blanket. "You shouldn't be outside after dark," she said quietly. Ryan stepped onto the porch. "My truck broke down. I saw a little girl come this way." The woman's face turned pale. "There hasn't been a child in this town for 27 years. Ryan felt a knot form in his stomach. "What happened here?" The woman looked over her shoulder before whispering, "Come inside before they see you." Ryan entered the house. The woman immediately locked the door and closed every curtain. The inside smelled old, like damp wood and dust. Family photographs covered the walls. Ryan noticed something strange. Every picture showed smiling families, but every face had been scratched away. "Why are the faces gone?" he asked. The woman's hands began to tremble. "They don't like being remembered." Before Ryan could ask another question, the lights flickered. A loud knock echoed through the house. 3 slow knocks. Knock. 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 The woman froze. She whispered, "Don't answer." Another 3 knocks followed, this time louder. Ryan looked through the peephole. Nobody was there. The porch was empty. He slowly unlocked the door and stepped outside. The cold air hit him immediately. Silence. Then he heard footsteps behind him. Crunch. 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 Ryan spun around. Nothing. The street was empty. As he turned back toward the house, the woman was gone. The front door stood wide open. Inside, the house was completely empty. The furniture had disappeared. The photographs were gone. Dust covered everything, as though nobody had lived there for decades. Ryan backed away in disbelief. Then his flashlight beam landed on an old newspaper lying on the floor. The headline read, "Black Hollow evacuated after mysterious disappearances, October 1992. Below the headline was a group photograph of the town's residents. Ryan's blood ran cold. Standing in the back row was the same elderly woman who had spoken to him only moments earlier. According to the article, she had died 27 years ago. Just then, Ryan heard a little girl's voice behind him, soft, calm, almost whispering. "You weren't supposed to read that." He slowly turned around. The little girl stood only a few feet away. This time, her hair slowly parted, and for the first time, Ryan saw her face. If this story kept you on edge, subscribe now. The final part reveals what really happened in Black Hollow, and why no one who enters after midnight is ever seen again. Ryan froze. The little girl's face wasn't disfigured. It wasn't covered in blood. It looked completely normal, but her eyes... There were no pupils, only pale white eyes staring directly into him. She spoke in a calm voice. "You're too late. They already know you're here." Before Ryan could answer, every streetlight in Black Hollow suddenly turned on at the same time, one after another, until the entire town was glowing. For the first time, Ryan noticed something horrifying. The streets weren't empty anymore. People were standing on every sidewalk, men, women, children, all perfectly still. None of them had pupils. Every pair of white eyes was fixed on him. Ryan's instincts took over. He turned and sprinted toward his truck. Behind him, hundreds of footsteps echoed through the streets, but when he looked back, no one was running. They were all still standing exactly where they had been. Yet the footsteps kept getting louder. Ryan jumped into the truck and twisted the key. Nothing. The engine was dead. Then the truck radio switched on by itself. A voice crackled through the speakers. "Leave the keys and walk away." Ryan ripped the radio out of the dashboard. The voice stopped, but seconds later, it came from outside the truck, then from behind him, then from every direction at once. "Leave the keys and walk away." Ryan remembered the old newspaper. Every missing person had disappeared after entering Black Hollow at night. None of their vehicles had ever been found. Suddenly, he noticed an old church at the end of the street. Its bell began ringing by itself. He ran toward it. The heavy wooden doors slammed shut the moment he stepped inside. The church was dark except for dozens of burning candles. On the altar sat an old leather journal. The first page read, "If you are reading this, you are the last visitor." Ryan flipped through the pages. Every few pages contained another missing person's name. Each journal entry ended with the same sentence: "They only leave when someone takes your place." Ryan's breathing became heavy. Then he reached the final page. There was only one sentence: "Ryan Mitchell, October 15th, 2019. His own name, his own date, written long before he had arrived. The church bell suddenly stopped. Silence. Then, someone knocked on the church door. 3 slow knocks. Knock, knock, knock. Ryan refused to answer. The knocking became louder, then stopped completely. After several minutes, he slowly pushed the church door open. The town was empty again. No people, no little girl, no lights, just silence. His truck was waiting exactly where he had left it. This time, the engine started immediately. Ryan drove out of Black Hollow without looking back. At sunrise, he reached the nearest sheriff's office. He reported everything. The deputy searched every map in the county. There was no town called Black Hollow. No road, no records, nothing. Months later, Ryan quit his trucking job forever. He never spoke publicly about that night again, but every year, on October 15th, a plain white envelope appears in his mailbox. No return address. Inside is always the same message: "Thank you for finding your way out. We're still waiting for the next driver." If this story gave you chills, subscribe to the channel for more realistic American horror stories inspired by abandoned towns, unexplained disappearances, and urban legends. Sleep carefully, because not every road wants you to reach your destination.